In the mountain village of Caldera, the nights were dark in a way that felt unfinished. There were no stars. Not a single shimmer in the sky. No constellations to name, no wishes to whisper to the heavens. The old one said that 100 years ago, the stars had simply gone out. Not with thunder, not with war, but with silence. Like candles never lit. Most had stopped looking up long ago. Liora was only 10, but she carried something rare, wonder. Every evening, she would lie on the mossy hill behind her home, her eyes searching that vast, empty canvas. Her neighbors told her not to waste her time. Her parents asked her gently to stop dreaming. But she couldn't. She felt something was waiting, just out of reach. In her little journal, she drew the stars she had never seen. She gave them names. She imagined how they might move, how they might sound. Then one evening, as the village slept under the usual veil of black, something happened. A flicker appeared, just above the horizon. Not a lantern, not a firefly, a single, trembling point of light. Liora sat up, breath caught in her chest. The flicker pulsed once, twice, then whispered. Not in words, not in voice, but in feeling. It was calling, not to everyone, just to her. The morning after she saw the flicker, Liora burst into the kitchen, journal in hand, cheeks glowing with wonder. "I saw it," she cried. "A star, a real one." Her parents paused over their tea. Her mother smiled gently. "Maybe it was just a lantern, sweetheart." Her father added with a chuckle, "Could have been swamp gas. The old fields play tricks at night." Leora's smile faded, but only for a moment. They didn't believe her. But the star had spoken. She was sure of it. That night, she returned to her mossy hill, journal on her lap, eyes fixed on the sky. And again, it came. A tiny spark, hanging above the forest edge, brighter than before. It flickered, then shimmered, casting a faint glow on the grass. Liora didn't move. She barely breathed. Then the journal fluttered open on its own. Pages flipped like stirred leaves until stopping at a drawing she'd made, a made-up constellation called the Dreamkeeper, a simple arc of stars cradling a single light. Suddenly, the drawing changed. A second star appeared beside the first, glowing, pulsing faintly in ink. Liora gasped. Her hands trembled. She touched the page. It was warm. Each night after that, she returned. And each night, another star appeared, in her drawings, in her heart. She didn't tell anyone. Not yet. The villagers already called her the Little Dreamer. Not with affection, but with pity. In Caldera, dreaming was something children grew out of, like milk teeth. But Liora held on to hers like a lantern in a storm. Because now she knew. The stars were not gone. They were waiting to be remembered. On the seventh night, the flicker didn't appear in the sky. It appeared on the ground. As Liora reached her usual hilltop, she froze. There, etched in pale blue light across the grass, was her drawing, the Dreamkeeper. Not on paper, but alive. Each star from her sketch glowed softly, forming a path leading into the forest. She glanced back at the sleeping village, then forward, and stepped into the dark. The trees were quiet. No wind, no crickets, only the soft crunch of leaves beneath her feet. The glowing trail wound between trunks and roots like a silver thread. After what felt like hours, she reached it, a hill taller than any she'd climbed before. At the top stood a crumbling observatory, swallowed by vines and silence. Its dome was cracked, its door half open. Liora stepped inside. Dust danced in the air. Old star charts lay scattered, yellowed and curling. And in the center of the room, beneath a hole in the roof, stood an enormous telescope, ancient but not dead. It pulsed, softly, like a heartbeat. She approached, her breath shaking. As her fingers brushed the cold brass, the telescope came alive. Gears whirred. Mirrors clicked. The whole room vibrated. The telescope tilted skyward, locking onto the one place she'd never seen light. And then, it spoke. Not in words. Not aloe. The stars are not gone. They sleep. And dreams are their lullabies. Liora closed her eyes. She remembered every wish she'd ever made. Every story she'd written. Every star she'd imagined. And the telescope remembered too. Above her, a new light broke through the clouds. Not one star. Many. The stars had begun to return. First 1. Then 3. Then 5, visible even to the villagers, who hadn't looked up in years. They gasped. They gathered. Some wept. But they didn't know why the stars had come back. Only Liora did. Each night, she returned to the observatory. And each night, she poured her dreams into the telescope. Stories. Wishes. Memories. It was like feeding the sky with pieces of her soul. And slowly, a map of stars reignited, one for each hope she gave away. But something was changing. Liora grew pale. Her eyes lost their usual sparkle. Her voice, once full of wonder, became a whisper. Even her smile faded. Because every time she gave a dream to the stars, she forgot it. One morning, she awoke and stared at her journal. The pages were full, but foreign. She didn't recognize the constellations. She didn't remember the dream keeper. Not the first flicker. Not even the night the telescope sang. The stars above shone brighter than ever. But her own light was dimming. That evening, she climbed the hill once more, slower than before. The telescope waited, glowing. The sky pulsed with new stars. But Liora hesitated. And for the first time, she asked, "How much of me must I lose for others to see the light?" The wind didn't answer. But something stirred behind her. She turned. The villagers. Dozens of them, old, young, curious, silent. They had followed the stars. They had followed her. They didn't speak. They simply brought their own journals. Their stories. Their dreams. One by one, they stepped forward and placed them at Liora's feet. Then a boy whispered, "You don't have to do it alone." Liora wept. Not because she was tired, but because she was seen. She opened her journal one last time, placed it in the circle of offerings, and stepped back. And as the telescope lifted its lens toward the heavens, something miraculous happened. The stars didn't just return. They danced. The sky above Caldera had never been so alive. It shimmered, not with cold distance, but with memory, dreams, wishes, stories, all dancing in soft spirals of light. And in the center of it all stood Liora, her eyes wide, her heart full. For the first time in weeks, she felt whole. But this was no longer just her story. The villagers had found their courage, and their dreams. Children traced constellations into the dirt. Elders whispered tales they'd long forgotten. And the hilltop became a place of gathering, not just stargazing. Liora's journal, once a vessel of solitude, now sat in the observatory. Open, glowing, surrounded by dozens more. It no longer held just her voice. It echoed with a chorus. And the telescope? It still pulsed. Still listened. But now, it responded not to one dreamer, but to many. One evening, as Liora sat beside the telescope watching stars flicker to life, she heard a voice beside her. Soft, young. "Do you think the stars ever dreamed of us?" She smiled, eyes twinkling. "I think they're dreaming with us now." Sometimes, it only takes one voice to wake the sky. But it takes many to keep it singing. If this story sparked something in you, don't let the stars fade again. Sparkles like, subscribe, and join us as we bring more stories to light, one dream at a time. Sparkles.